Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, before we proceed any further, big shout out to my channel sponsor, Fighting Mad, the pound for pound kings of boxing apparel. If you like the Earl Spence Jr. t-shirt you see to my right, you can find that shirt, that exact shirt, and many more just like it on the Fighting Mad website. The link for you will be right over here. So, now that we went ahead and got our bills paid, shout out to Fighting Mad, let's get into some boxing talk and some interesting boxing talk, some controversial boxing talk on a controversial topic, because it concerns Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing, and it could be a big blow to their ambitions here in the States. You know, as we know, Eddie Hearn, after doing a hell of a job taking over the UK boxing market, is coming to America. He's came to America, and he's learning the American market, and he's had his struggles, he's had his successes, but he has had a hell of a lot of struggles, and this right here might be just another one of his biggest struggles, because many of you may or may not know that Daniel Jacobs is moving up to 168, and he was slated to fight Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in a big fight at the MGM Grand, okay? But that fight, you know, was moved from the MGM Grand to Phoenix because of the fact that Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., he failed and refused to provide a test sample to Vada, and the Nevada State Athletic Commission has suspended Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. for his inability to provide a urine sample to Vada. So what did Matchroom do? What did Fast Car Eddie and Matchroom Boxing USA do? They decided that instead of reprimanding Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., instead of doing that and maybe replacing him, they then decided to move the fight to Phoenix. They moved the fight to Phoenix, Arizona. So instead of being in Vegas, they moved it to Phoenix. Now, this caused quite the stir with Bob Bennett, who is the head of the Nevada State Athletic Commission, as he wrote a long and lengthy letter. I'll read it to you guys, and you guys can read it for yourself in the article down below. So I'll leave the article down below so you can come to your own surmise and read it for yourself. But he wrote a letter basically to Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing, informing their legal team and highlighting what was done wrong, and just how serious what they're doing is. Okay, so here's what he said, and just bear with me, it's going to be a bit long, but listen to me. He says, here's what Bob Bennett said. He said, I quote, "Nevada law prohibits any promoter licensed by the Nevada State Athletic Commission from having any dealings related to an unarmed combat with a person who has been suspended by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. Nevada also prohibits a promoter from permitting a person under suspension from participating in any contest or exhibition of unarmed combat during the period of suspension. Any violation of the Nevada or federal law by a licensed promoter provides grounds for disciplinary action. In addition, under the Muhammad Ali Act, no boxer is permitted to box while under suspension from any boxing commission due to, among other things, failure of a drug test. Under Nevada law, an unarmed combatant that refused to submit to the collection of a sample or specimen upon the request of the Nevada State Athletic Commission or its representative, or otherwise evades the collection thereof, has committed an anti-doping violation and is subject to disciplinary action, just as he or she would be if he or she failed a drug test. Based on Matchroom's ongoing dealings with Chavez while he's been on suspension, it is apparent that Matchroom has violated the Nevada law. Further, given that Chavez's suspension is based on his refusal to submit to a drug test requested by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, and thus an anti-doping violation, it is apparent that the event scheduled to occur in Arizona, December 20th, 2019, is in violation of the Muhammad Ali Act. As such, Matchroom is promoting an event that potentially violates federal law. Jesus, jeez Louise, Bob Bennett and the Nevada State Athletic Commission dropping that mother-loving ether all over Eddie Hearn. That shit that make your soul burn slow. So, with that being said, there's a lot to unpack here. And you know what? I'm going to read to you guys, because there actually is a second part that Bob Bennett wrote, and this was directed towards Sean Palmer, who is the head of Matchroom's Legal and Business Affairs. Here's what he said to Sean Palmer, head of Matchroom Legal and Business Affairs. He said, I quote, "On November 7, 2019, I contacted Sean Palmer, Matchroom's head of Legal and Business Affairs, and informed him of the legal issues with Matchroom's dealings with the Chavez discussed Hearn. I further informed him of the potential consequences should Matchroom not take corrective measures to comply with the Nevada law, including that a violation of Nevada law would be considered by the Nevada State Athletic Commission when deciding whether to renew Matchroom's promoter's license. So right now, as it stands, Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing, their promoter's license has been revoked, it has been removed, and this could be long term if this doesn't get resolved. This could be a big blow to Matchroom Boxing, because I know it, you know it, and everybody that knows anything about boxing and where the money's at in boxing knows that Las Vegas is where the true money is at in boxing. You know, the casino money, the TV money, all that stuff, it's in Vegas. That's why the big fights are always in Vegas. That's why fighters dream of fighting in Vegas, because that's where they will ultimately wind up racking in the most dollars and the most money. So if Matchroom Boxing, Eddie Hearn, and all parties involved with that company, if the promoter's license is revoked and removed on a long-term basis, it's a massive blow to Eddie Hearn and what he's trying to do here in America. Because let's have it right, you can't really capture the American market or have or generate the kind of money you want to generate as a promoter in boxing in the American market if you don't have your fights, your big fights in Vegas. So, you know, Eddie Hearn has a lot to deal with. You know, going back to what was proclaimed here by Bob Bennett, he's in violation of the Muhammad Ali Act. And to be fair, like, look, there's many people in boxing, advisors, promoters, managers, that are in direct violation of the Muhammad Ali Act. But it's very rare in boxing, particularly here in America, that you actually get the Muhammad Ali Act enforced. We know the rules, you know, but it's hardly ever enforced, you know, because there's many people in boxing that are in violation of it in one way or the other. Al Heyman, listen. So we'll see, man, we'll see what happens. But the funny thing with this is, like, the tickets for this fight between Jacobs and Chavez Jr., they just went on sale. Like, they just went on sale. So you know, Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing, and all parties involved, they're in some big trouble. They're in some big trouble because rather than reprimanding Chavez Jr., because let's face it, look, if you put Jacobs on that card against anybody else, like if it's Jacobs versus, let's say, Gabriel Rosado, which he's someone who's been removed to replace Chavez Jr. in the event that Matchroom decides to pull the plug on him being the opponent. You know, if it's Jacobs versus Chavez Jr., then the interest for this fight will drop significantly, because Chavez Jr. is the reason people are going to pay attention to it. Chavez Jr. is the one that's going to sell tickets. He's going to be the one that's going to generate the money because he has the big Mexican fan base. He's carrying the last name of the arguably the greatest Mexican fighter of all time. So that's always going to bring intrigue. It's going to be interest, and it's going to bring lots of eyeballs to the fight. So Eddie Hearn, listen, I like Eddie Hearn. You know, I like what he's done in the UK for boxing. I think he's got a lot to learn as far as the American market and how America works. And, like, I don't know. Like, I'm not gonna say I know what the answers are, because I don't know what to do. I wouldn't know what to do if I was in Eddie Hearn's case. But the first thing he probably should do is remove Chavez Jr. from the card, replace him with somebody, take your L as far as at the gate, because you will take an L at the gate. You're not going to generate as much money without Chavez Jr. And then write a nice letter to the Nevada Commission, slide them some money, and just start at ground zero, because you can ill afford to not have your fight to not have big fights in Las Vegas. You know, if the Zone, Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing, they want to really do things big, you can't be fucking around the Nevada Commission. So, you know, I find it interesting. But, you know, what I find even worse about all this is, like, and this is why, like, you know, I'm glad I've kind of grown out of this. I've grown out of this. Like, I don't really. There was a period of time where I would say, like, I was one of those. You know, a lot of times now I accuse people on YouTube of being cornballs for being fans of promoters. I used to be a fan of promoters. You know, I used to be one of those people that would say, "Oh, Eddie Hearn," and I used to joke around on my channel and say, "We don't say thank you, Al Heyman, we say thank you, Eddie Hearn." I don't do that no more, because I've just grown out of it, and I don't really care about any of these promoters. I just want to see good fights. And with Eddie Hearn, it's like, there's a lot of things looming with Matchroom Boxing. You know, you have the fact that Dillian White's B sample hasn't come back yet, things like that. You know, you have this now, and I think Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing, if they allow Chavez Jr. to fight after openly refusing to send a urine sample to Vada drug testing, what a horrible precedent they're setting to the sport of boxing. What a horrible example they're setting to the sport of boxing, because I mean, it's one thing to cheat, but it's another thing to do it openly. And Chavez Jr. is doing it openly. He's doing it openly. Any fighter, and you have to say that he's doing it openly, because any fighter that openly refuses Vada drug testing is cheating. They are cheating. And Chavez Jr. is clearly cheating here. So hopefully, I understand, like, he wants to make money. Like, I know I'm kind of everywhere right now with this video, but I know Eddie Hearn wants to make money, and that's the name of the game. Really, as a promoter, you're not running a charity here. You want to make money. But when it comes to Chavez Jr., are you really willing to throw away your long-term future of big fights in Las Vegas, where all the casino money, where all the high rollers go? Are you really willing to risk all the money that could be made in future big fights for Chavez Jr.? I mean, you gotta look at this for what it is. It's insanity going on here from Eddie Hearn in Matchroom Boxing. So I'll be monitoring this very closely, because there's a lot of things going on with Matchroom Boxing right now that are questionable. With the Dillian White situation, even if you want to go back as far as what happened with Carl Froch, when people thought there was an alleged match fixing scandal with Carl Froch. As Matchroom does some great things really good, but like any other promoter in boxing, they have a checkered past too. Eddie Hearn has his skeletons, just like any promoter too. So, with that being said, he better get it together, because once you get condemned, and if Bob Bennett and the Nevada State Athletic Commission, if they decide to take legal action against Eddie Hearn, because he's in direct violation of the Muhammad Ali Act, that's some deep shit. I mean, you gotta understand something. This is not like your run-of-the-mill accusation in boxing. The Muhammad Ali Act is a United States federal law. So if he is condemned and taken legal action because of the Muhammad Ali Act, we're not talking about Matchroom Boxing and Eddie Hearn being in trouble within the realms of boxing. We're talking about Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing being in trouble within the realms of the United States federal government. And if there's anything that we should have learned from the Tekashi 6ix9ine case, is that, listen, there's gangsters, but there's no bigger gang than the United States federal government, and you don't want to fuck with them. So hopefully, for his sake, for the sake of his sanity, and for the sake of Matchroom Boxing, and for the sake of any ambitions he may have in the future here in America, particularly in Las Vegas, straighten it out with the Nevada State Athletic Commission, Eddie. That's all I'm going to say. I'd like to hear what you guys got to say about this, because Fast Eddie trying to pull a fast one. They said, Eddie, you can't fight here in Nevada because Chavez Jr., he won't give us a urine sample for Vada drug testing. Eddie said, okay, that's cool. I'll just go to Arizona. I'll just go to the state. I'll just go to your next one. I'll go to Arizona. I'll have the fight in Phoenix. So, that's what it is. But yeah, you guys let me know what you think in the comments down below about what's going on with this whole Eddie Hearn, Nevada State Athletic Commission, Julio, Cesar, Chavez Jr. debacle. I love to hear what you guys got to say in the comments down below. Make sure you take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just Kip from Dang. So until next time, take care, guys.